4 years when they would have had 7 years had they been aware or had this been clear.
If they'd have come in and got a permit for the new sign.
No, she's saying even if they did come in and get a permit, so they may have been permitted even though the signs didn't meet the requirements.
Correct.
Because it was incorrect in the book.
Correct. There were inconsistencies in the book.
And also, there has been no effort, and I understood that when the business license were given out, they should have, at that time, given out the sign ordinance. That has never been done.
But
People, let me tell you,
But there's all kinds of things they could give out at the same time. I mean, the whole building code, is that what we want to give? I mean,
they need to be given, and it was said in this meeting, time back, that when the business license of this year were passed out, then the front office would give them a copy of the sign ordinance. Because people, these businesses, these men, they've been in business a long time. They used to go out and just write their own signs, just make their own signs. But
I understand what you're saying.
They don't understand.
But, you know, to me, having sit through so much, keep Saraland beautiful and all the sign issues we had, and all the times it made the press about signs everywhere.
I don't read the paper. And there is a lot of our business people that do not read the paper. And we have to put forth the effort to let these people know. We have got a situation out there now where somebody's trying to build a garage. They don't know that they have to come in here to get a building permit. There's a lot of people that don't know this.
Can you clarify this for me? Ignorance of the law is okay.
Yes, but
I mean that should.
We as a city should be trying to make an effort not to bulldoze over these people and say, hey, you've got this sign, you've got to take it down, without first giving them the information that they need.
But there's 1,000 things like that. We don't have, even if we put out a newspaper, like I said, you don't read it. Even if you say we need to send out a letter for everything that's coming up to them occasionally, and this, you're talking about residences versus businesses and a business license and a sign thing. But there's so many things that, as a city, people know there's rules. Burning permits, for instance. So, if somebody didn't know you had to get a burning permit, fire department should go out there and stop them.
Yes, they should. And we should.
And we have 4 years to get the
these,
signs in order if we're going to start enforcing them.
Okay, let me throw something at you. I don't know if I said this to somebody else, but the reason 7 years was put in there was somebody put up a new sign that if you make them remove it prematurely, you have to pay them for the,
Just give them time to amortize the cost.
7 years is the amount the judge said. After 7 years, the sign's pretty much worthless. You don't have to reimburse them anything. So if you allow people to put up a new sign that's only 4 years old, and you're 3 or 4 years old, you try to enforce it, you're probably open up yourself and have to reimburse for taking these signs down.
That's the time to amortize the cost of the sign.
But that's one reason the 7 years was so critical in getting there, is just from a legal standpoint.
So what do we do for the businesses now that have already put the money out to abide by our sign policy?
That's the reason we're asking. This gives them 7 years.
I'm talking about the
gives
ones
them
that's
10
already
years.
done it to go ahead and comply with what our sign ordinance gives in 7 years.
They're basically grandfathered in.
No, if they've already done it, if they've already spent their money since.
But it's been approved to do it.
And I understand, what I'm saying is that
They've got
if
7 years before.
we put out the sign ordinance, this year I'll replace my sign with your new sign. And it costs me more money than what it should have to put up my old sign. So we're saying what's fair and what's not fair. Is it fair to this person that had to pay more money to put up the new sign to comply because they wanted to comply with what our policy, what our ordinance is with our sign?
The existing sign he's got now, he's got 7 years.
I understand, but he's already complied with it. What I'm saying is he replaced it to comply with it. So we're saying what's fair and not bulldozing. We've already told people you've got to come. Didn't you just redo all your signs?
Yeah, Ron, did you want to make a comment? Go ahead.
I did. You're putting me, because I do read the newspaper, and I do come to council meetings and know what's going on. When I replaced my signs, I made sure they were according to the ordinance. Well, I had big signs, now I have little bitty signs. I'm at a disadvantage, and the businesses I lease to are at a disadvantage right now, because we got little bitty signs, and people that haven't replaced theirs yet, they got big signs. So when they do replace them, they'll have to come in.
I think Ron's point's very well taken. Another question I have for the building department is, people who may have come in and put unintentionally in the last 2 years, because we're talking about 2 years, have put up a non-conforming sign, they still got a sign permit, didn't they?
Not necessarily.
Some of them
Then
did, some of
then
them
they need to be
didn't.
cited, and they get that due notice, and they have 4 years to fix their sign.
Who cites them?
We have a code enforcement officer, we've had for a long time.
And you just notify the code enforcement officer when someone has put up a sign.
I do.
illegal.
I do. When I've seen one that I don't think meets standards, I'll call them. And that's not my job, but I call them anyway and say, this sign doesn't look like it
And
passes.
it's probably all of our trucks, we know the ordinance. I don't know.
I could see.
I understand, we're trying to find
Yeah,
how to
and
make it
to
work.
address Sydney's point, because I think it's a very good point, I would like to see some kind of verbiage put in here, keep the date as it is, but put some kind of verbiage in here that any sign that's been properly permitted by the city since the date we adopted the zoning ordinance will be grandfathered in for 7 years from the date they got their permit. That
So
would be-
just add in another 3 years.
Instead of just saying another 3 years, I think.
Well, I thought we were going to go ahead and just correct the differences, and I thought most of this was just correcting the differences, is what I heard from you, Ms. Brandon.
Correct the differences in what.
If there was one place that said so many years of different height signs or somewhere.
Right.
Well,
Well,
I think we
that's
felt like, to
Well,
be fair,
done.
because there are some people who tried to comply with our ordinance, with the discrepancies. And if we, with what we're wanting to adopt, is different from what they actually complied with, they tried, they still have.
They shouldn't,
7
and that's what I'm saying, they shouldn't be penalized, and they would get
That's a case
7
by
years.
case. That's a case
No,
by
it's
case.
actually have to be case by case, just put here, anybody that from the date we adopted the ordinance till the date we adopt this amendment, anybody who permitted their sign will be grandfathered in from 7 years from the date they got their sign permit. They'll take care of Sydney's objection, because everybody has 7 years. Now, if they did get a sign permit, they violated the ordinance, there's no question, and they should gain protection under the sign.
You have a legal standpoint of.
But that'd be my
4 years.
answer to the concern, is just to put that in there, that anybody who properly got a sign permit, even if their sign doesn't meet the requirements, if Saraland gave them a sign permit, they did what they were supposed to do, they came down, they filled out the form, somebody at the city erroneously told them your sign's okay, they get 7 years from whenever they got their sign permit.
But in the non-permitted, non-conforming signs, you'll get 4 years.
4 years, right.
4 more years. What they're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
If they put one up without giving a permit or it's just not a conforming sign, leave them the original date of 2014.
Because technically, they shouldn't even get that. Technically, according to the sign ordinance, we should make them right now take it down. We're not doing that. So we're actually being laxer than we could be. Because somebody illegally put a sign up 2 years ago, after we adopted this thing, we should right now be going there tomorrow and saying, get that sign out of my city.
What's the building department gonna do? They find out somebody didn't get an electrical inspection and they've already plastered the walls. You're supposed to go in there and make them open it up if you're enforcing the ordinance. And if they find out that's happening, that's a health and safety issue. I mean, it was very clear when we spent the year going through this and we decided the 7 years was a reasonable facsimile.
Well, our biggest problem is, these businesses were not given these ordinances. They were not given, and which
It doesn't
could have
matter
been-
though, it's still 7 years. The whole point is, everybody gets 7 years out of their sign. Nobody should be able to say, I put a sign up and didn't get 7 years out.
Because I just spent my money.
Unless they didn't get a permit, and everybody should know, if you put a sign up, you need to check the building department, got the game permit. I think that's reasonable.
Well, a
But
lot of
it-
times too, they can go to the Board of Variance, and the Board of Variance can approve something else for them different.
That's
But
correct.
that's one of the reasons we got the higher ones for the hotels. I mean, that was an issue